Hello and welcome to Theme Park Worldwide and the first video in a brand new series of countdown videos. In this series I'm going to be going through my favourite rides, from water rides, flat rides, roller coasters and so much more. Along with that I'll be counting down some of my favourite theme parks throughout the world, and not only that, I'll also be giving you lots of different tips as well and counting down the top tips for visiting various different theme parks around the world. In this video, as you can see by the title, I'm going to be counting down my top 10 best water rides. Now there's some fantastic water rides out there at various different theme parks all throughout the world, and that's what this video is going to be all about. Along with giving you a few facts about the ride, I'll be sharing my thoughts on it and exactly why it fits into my top 10 countdown. So without further ado, let's get started. Let's count down the top 10 best water rides that I've experienced. Just making it into the countdown then, in 10th place is Tidal Wave at Thorpe Park here in the United Kingdom. Now Tidal Wave is what's known as a shoot-the-chute water ride. So with this it features one large drop with a big splash. It also runs different boats compared to your normal log flume. On average a log flume has about 5 people that it can seat in a boat. With Tidal Wave it's got various different rows and can seat a much larger amount of people. With that it runs less boats than a log flume, however it's the size of the boats and the scale of this ride that really makes it for me, and of course that fits with the theme. So the ride opened at Thorpe Park in year 2000 and it's all based around the 1960s fishing village known as Amity Cove, and the area itself around it is stunning. All the buildings, the facades, you've got like various different food outlets, arcades, even the toilets, it's all themed and fits around Amity Cove, so that really builds you up before you even get to the queue line and even see Tidal Wave. When you're walking into the area, of course you get all these different buildings that build you up for the attraction, and then you make your way to the entrance to Tidal Wave. You got these big letters, all flashing lights on there, that still looks really good. Even though the ride's now 20 years old, in terms of the effects, it's still looking pretty good. Something that I do really miss though is a large fire effect. So of course with this ride it's all themed around a tidal wave hitting this village, and you've got all these buildings that have been destroyed and water's come in. In the queue line you've got like showers and toilets and water running through them, like it's all gone a bit crazy from this tidal wave coming in. It's a really interesting theme for the ride. Yeah, there's so much going on, but yeah, with the effects you've got like a steeple out in the main water area where the ride is, and you've also got this big tower like a gas tank, and there actually used to be a fire effect that used to go off in there. It's not been on for many years now. I imagine it's just been completely removed out of there, but yeah, that used to be good. It was a fire effect that went off when the boats came down and just added to the overall feel of it round there. Of course this tidal wave has hit this canister, causing it to explode, so that was a cool effect. But even though that's not there anymore, this ride I feel like it deserves to be in my top 10 all-round favourite water rides, mainly because of the overall theme, the atmosphere and the fact you get absolutely soaked. So on this ride, especially on the front row, you come down that drop, bear in mind you've got the anticipation, you know, you're going up the lift hill and you're thinking, oh blimey, you know, we're going to get absolutely soaked. You go down the drop, which isn't actually that steep, you know, it's a big drop but it's not ridiculously steep. You make your way down and as soon as you hit the water, it's that sound that, you know, the water's being pushed straight up above you into the air. And if you actually look up, if you're brave enough to look up and just go like that as you see the water rise from the boats, it's an amazing experience. It's like you'd be standing in the middle of Niagara Falls or something. You know, the wave on Tidal Wave is absolutely huge, so you know, that really makes it for me. It's impressive on ride and off ride, and like I say, you get absolutely soaked. Some other highlights for me why it fits into my top 10 water rides is because of the audio. WWTP radio plays all around the area. That's like their own radio, what they came up with, and it's warnings about the tidal wave coming in and all that sort of stuff. They speak with that local shopkeepers. You get lots of different music on there. You know, it all fits in with an overall very heavily themed ride where you do get soaked, just like a water ride should. So I really enjoy it. In 10th place, it's Tidal Wave at Thorpe Park here in the United Kingdom. In at number 9, it's Grizzly River Run at Disney California Adventure, which is located at the Disneyland Resort in California, United States of America. So with this ride, it's a river rapids ride that opened in 2001. It was an opening day attraction with the park. And I must say, what they did with this, with the overall experience, is beautiful. The theming and the storyline behind it, I do really enjoy it. And that's why it's got a worthy position here in my top 10 countdown. So with Grizzly River Run, you're in this area called Grizzly Peak Recreation Area. It's got all these big trees, rocks, and it's all themed around this like California National Park. You got a couple of other attractions in the area as well, including soaring. You got like a walkthrough, and that all sort of builds up to it. But I would say the main attraction in the area, the one that really sort of shines out to me in Grizzly Peak, is Grizzly River Run, and it's the overall atmosphere that's created on this ride. So at the entrance, you've got like this massive bear that's a brilliant photo opportunity at the entrance to the queue line. You go in, you go through like all these wooden different buildings and like different like sawmills and that sort of thing. And then you arrive at the station, standard turntable for a rapids ride. But then as you make your way round towards the first lift hill, it's very, very calm. Like there's not really much in terms of audio. It's just quite relaxing, but you've got all this themed trough and planting all around the side. You got the lift hill, which is actually through this sawmill, and you've got a few like leaking pipes and stuff that adds to it. As you're making your way throughout then, you go down this little drop around the whole top section of this mountain. It's Grizzly Peak itself. You've got like a grizzly bear that's actually carved out in the rock work up there, which is fantastic. Really nice theming. And you just make your way through various different tunnels. There's loads of little drops. And it looks great on ride and also off ride as well. Lots of different special effects around, such as geysers that are blasting up, little water leaks every so often. And it is a rapids ride where you do get quite wet. There's some pretty steep sort of down sections, like not full on drops, but just down sections where you make your way round in the top of this mountain and the water comes flooding into the boat. It's fantastic. One of my favourite parts is a waterfall that you look at from off-ride. On-ride you can't really tell, but the trough sort of expands into this waterfall with all these logs, and it looks really, really nice what they've done with that. And then you make your way round to the finale drop, which is brilliant. Again, so much rock work around, logs, waterfalls, and the rafts actually spin on this drop, which is quite different. So normally you'd be there and you think, oh, you know, I'm right at the back, you know, I'm not going to get as wet, or I'm at the front, I'm going to get soaked. But you don't know, it's so unpredictable because it spins round as you go down and you get the water splash. So yeah, you know, you then end up with all these geysers around and special effects. I just think it's a really good solid rapids ride, and it's the overall theming that makes it. But there you go, in at 9th place, it's Grizzly River Run. Now, what's very different about the ride in 8th place is that unlike the two rides that I've mentioned so far, this ride has got zero theming. There's nothing that adds to the overall experience. This is Drenched at Oakwood in Wales in the United Kingdom, and this is a super splash ride that opened in 2002. Now, the reason why this fits into my top 10 countdown is just the size of this ride, the overall look of it, and the feel of it as well. So it features a 101 foot tall drop, which is absolutely stunning. Now, in the station building, you get board on the boat and you pull down an over-the-shoulder restraint. That means that when you're going around this ride, you are very restricted. You can't move that much at all, which adds to it, because on something like Tidal Wave, that of course came in our 10th place, you know, you've just got a lap bar, so you can duck down, you can avoid the water. On Drenched, that isn't an option. So you're climbing up the lift hill and you look to the right hand side and all you can see is this massive drop with water gushing down, and you can hear it and you're thinking, blimey, we're going down that. And you slowly make your way around the top section towards this drop, and then you're straight down into it. It's ridiculously steep, like I say, over 100 foot tall this drop, and then the splash is huge as well. But it's more the fact that it's got the over the shoulder restraints that makes it a lot more sort of, you know, you can find into it. You're sat back in your seats and you just don't know, like, you can't move, like, and you know, you're going down this drop and the water splashes over. So I think it's an incredible ride. But like I said, there's nothing with a storyline or theme into it. But yeah, in terms of Drenched, I think it's definitely a solid 8th place here in the countdown. In 7th place, it's Jurassic World The Ride at Universal Studios Hollywood, which is located in California in the United States of America. This is a retheme of a classic attraction known as Jurassic Park The Ride. It opened in 1996, and I must say, I loved it. It was a brilliant attraction. I'm a big fan of Jurassic Park and the Jurassic World films, and when they announced this retheme, I was really unsure on how it was going to be. When I experienced it earlier this year for the first time, I was blown away. I love Jurassic World, and I loved the ride just as much as the films. I thought it was fantastic. It was a really nice modernisation of a classic attraction. I just feel like they did it really well with the overall theming and the storyline with it. It reopened in 2019 as Jurassic World the ride. It's a shoot-the-chute style water ride as well, but it's got large boats, as I've mentioned earlier on with some of the previous rides, and it seats 25 people. It runs numerous boats, so it's got a very high capacity on this one, a large throughput with this ride. So what makes it for me, you walk through the queue line. Of course, you've got that iconic Jurassic World archway with the flame torches on there. You got all the planting all the way around, very tropical feel to it. You make your way to the station, you get on one of these large boats that are painted grey, all the blue Jurassic World branded on the front and stuff as well, and I love that modernisation of the classic. You make your way up that lift hill and you go into this first scene, which is the aquarium scene, and I just think they've done that really well with the overall experience. It's a mix of screens and special effects and live sets in there as well. So yeah, you've got the Mosasaurus on the screen, and what happens with that is as the Mosasaurus is making its way around in the tank, you've got this water effect, what just blasts out towards you and gets you soaked. That actually gets you wetter than the drop that you go down at the end of the ride. Following that, you go through an area with all sorts of rocks around, some more dinosaur animatronics that squirt water at you and that sort of thing. One that emerges out of the water that's quite a cool effect. And then you make your way round into the Predator Cove's theme section, where things start to take a bit of a turn for the worse. It explains on various screens that things are going to go wrong. But what I like with this attraction is the fact that, everybody knows what's coming, everybody knows it's going to go wrong, but it's the atmosphere, the way it's built up throughout with the storyline that I really like. It's a great use of set pieces and screens. You know me with Universal, it does annoy me how they use a lot of screens, and I'll be doing more of that when I talk about some of my favourite and least favourite dark rides in a future video, so stay tuned for that. It's going to be exciting. But yeah, so with this, it's got a really nice mix between the two. You then make your way into an indoor section, climb the large lift hill, you got screens building up the atmosphere, some more smaller animatronics at first, and then you get to the top of the lift hill where you've got all these trees and it's quite dark in there, building up the atmosphere. You see some more dinosaurs, they're all starting to attack, and then you see this T-Rex above you, and then you go down that finale drop. So there is actually another dinosaur, what you do see on the left hand side. However, I didn't get to experience that when I was there because that was away for refurbishment, but there is supposed to be two dinosaurs, but you've got the big T-Rex above you and one to the left. I didn't get to see that, so I can't review it based on that. But yeah, you go down this finale drop and you get quite a big splash, but you don't get absolutely soaked, not like some of the other rides I've mentioned so far in the countdown. But yeah, it's the overall theming and experience, and of course the fact that it's based on Jurassic World that makes this a solid one at number 7. Sixth place in my countdown is Popeye and Bluto's bilge wrap barges at Universal Islands of Adventure. That's located in Florida in the United States of America. Tell you what, that was a bit of a mouthful, wasn't it? And that's what you get on the ride, a mouthful of water. Honestly, you get soaked on this. It's a river rapids ride. It's located within the Toon Lagoon themed area of the park, and it was also an opening day attraction for Islands of Adventure. That was 1999. Now this ride is absolutely crazy. It's one of the wettest water rides out there in the world, and it had to be in this countdown, mainly due to that, the fact that you get absolutely soaked. But along with that, it's got a lot of theming around the ride and also special effects. So you sit in these large boats and you leave the turntable station, and straight away you know you're going to be getting soaked. You can see people coming off the ride and they are dripping wet through. And when I say dripping wet through, honestly, it's like you've just jumped in the sea with all of your clothes on. You get absolutely soaked on this ride. So as soon as you've left that turntable station, you've got water effects that start all the way round, and that's where it begins. You've got like all sorts of hoses and these canisters going off, blasters, water guns, you name it, they've got it on this ride. Now, it's got some brilliant theming on this ride, but that isn't what does it for me. It's the ride itself and the special effects and how wet you get. The theming around there, like I say, it's located located in the Toon Lagoon area. So all the theming's kind of based on Popeye the Sailor Man and all that storyline with the ride. And the trough is very, very well themed. It's like this cartoon style orange rock work that's really nice. You'll know what I mean when you look at troughs on other rapids rides that aren't themed. You know, take some of the rapids in the United Kingdom, for example, like the Congo River Rapids at Alton Towers. You know, like it's not really got the theming on the sides. It's literally just a concrete like channel for the water to run in. With this, it's got all the themed sides. So as much as I'm not a big fan of the cartoon style theming on this, it kind of works with how fun it is, and it's a bit wacky and everything's going a bit crazy. So I do like that side to it, and it's just how soaked you get. As you're making your way round, you've got like this big boat and people are up there looking down on you and chucking water at you and stuff on this ride. And then you make your way up a lift hill and go down this huge drop. Bear in mind, as you're going up the lift hill, you know, you've got water effects going everywhere. You just get soaked from the ride system itself and the water coming in. It's quite low sides on the boat, so the water just floods in and you get absolutely dripping wet through. But it had to be in this countdown. That's Popeye and Bluto's bilge wrap barges in at number 6. So we're halfway through the countdown of my best water rides, and in at 5th place we've got the Timber Mountain Log Ride, which is located at Knott's Berry Farm in California in the United States of America. This is a log flume that's located in the ghost town themed area of the park, and it dates back to 1969. Now granted, there's been some refurbishments on the ride since. They put in some new animatronics and redid some of the theming, but the ride itself dates back to 1969, the actual ride system, and a lot of the theming around the ride is still from then as well. You've got 24 different animatronic characters and 39 animatronic human figures within this ride. So that's a large amount of action going on as you're making your way round. Now, when I experienced this ride back in 2015, I didn't really have much of an idea on the history of Knott's Berry Farm, but I really enjoyed the ride. I thought it was fantastic with all the theming and everything, but I didn't realise quite how old it was and how much history there was for it. So since learning more about it, my love for this ride has just gone up, and I really appreciate it even more. I was back at Knott's Berry Farm earlier this year. Unfortunately, it was closed for a refurbishment that was scheduled, so I knew it was going to be closed at the time. But yeah, it was nice to just see it again and after learning more about it. So this is a ride that's more the nostalgia of it and the fact I've learned so much more. I originally thought, this ride here, it's just a bit like a Splash Mountain knockoff sort of thing, but it's not. That is the ride that inspired Splash Mountain down at Disneyland, that inspired a lot of other themed experiences and water rides around the world. And I didn't realise in 2015 when I went to Knott's that how important the park was and its history to a lot of other parks around the world. So that's a big reason for me. It's the nostalgia of it, but the ride itself's great. You got a nice finale drop, some big indoor caverns with all sorts to look at, all these trees and stuff around, lots of rock work that I love my hashtag rock work. But yeah, I just think it's really nice how they've put it all together in this themed experience with so much movement as well. So halfway there, Timber Mountain Log Ride, and that's in 5th place at Knott's Berry Farm. In 4th place, it's Roaring Rapids at Shanghai Disneyland in China. This was an opening day attraction from 2016, and you can tell with this park, so much care and attention went into every little detail. It's the newest of the 12 Disney parks out there in the world, and with this ride, it fits in beautifully to the Adventure Isle themed area of the park. So with this, you actually make your way round towards this huge mountain known as the Roaring Mountain, hence the name of the ride. And with this, it's actually got another attraction on there. It's like a high ropes course that you can do, unique to a Disney park that. There's no other Disney park that's got one of those. So as you're going around this rapids, you can see that and people climbing up this mountain, and that's what really adds to it. But parts of this ride, you go around all these rocks and caverns and you make your way in to this mountain itself, which has got this huge animatronic in there that is brilliant. This is like the guardian of the water animatronic, and the storyline of this ride, from what I remember, really builds up in the queue line, and you've got this guardian that's looking after the water and this mountain, and it's a huge audio animatronic that's very, very impressive. But the setting for this, you've got so much mist and steam rising up around the rapids, like all these geysers and little bits of details, all within this Adventure Isle, which is their take on Adventureland, and what they've done with it is gorgeous. The theming and experience of it, I'll never forget. So it had to be in there, very high up, just for the overall feel of this ride. A brilliant rapids. It might not be the wettest out there, it might not be the longest, but what it is a beautifully themed experience. And you think you've got this huge fake mountain what Disney have built for this rapids and like I say, this walk-through attraction next to it. You know, you've also got a version of soaring there. However, it's called soaring. It's actually got the G on the end. But yeah, that whole area, it comes together beautifully. So yeah, a really nice ride. Fits in very, very well at number 4, and that is the Roaring Rapids at Shanghai Disneyland. So we're down to the final 3, and you're not too far away from finding out my favourite ever water ride. In at 3rd place, it's Valhalla at Blackpool Pleasure Beach here in the United Kingdom. This is an indoor flume ride themed around Vikings that's actually 20 years old this year. It opened in the year 2000. However, it is currently closed for a large refurbishment. So with this review, it's going to be based on what it was as of 2019, not what it's going to be as of 2021. So who knows, it could shoot even higher in my rankings, or it could go way down, all depending on what's going to happen with this refurbishment. But yes, this ride is closed this year and it will be reopening next year. So this review is based on what it was from 2000 to 2019. I love Valhalla. Like the overall theme of this ride, 16 different scenes throughout this ride, various different drops, including some very hidden drops as well, that you just can't see until you get to them. That's the mystery of Valhalla. You stand out the front of it, you see this huge rockwork facade with this big waterfall, and all you can really see is some sort of turntable at the top. You don't really know what that is unless you've been on it before. Obviously, we do know that's the turntable that takes you into the backwards drop. But yeah, like if you've never been on this ride before, you wouldn't have a clue what happens inside. You've got all sorts of fire effects and explosions. There's barrels that come like right over the top of you with special effects. There's all sorts. One of my favourite scenes is a room where it's -20 in there. You've got other rooms where it's like 40 degrees. You know, like honestly, the whole package of Valhalla really is stunning. I just hope that it keeps some of that, but they also bring some new stuff in. So I'm not going to go into the details of the refurb. There's a video on the channel that I filmed just the other week. Check it out, all about the future of Valhalla, and that's what the video is called, so make sure you check that out. But it's a solid 3rd place from me. It's a beautiful ride, mainly because of the mystery behind it. You don't know what's going on. The fact that it's so unique, there's nothing else like Valhalla. There's no massive indoor water ride with all them effects, and you're getting that wet inside a building. And when I say wet, you do get soaked on this. Maybe not as much as a couple of the other rides I've mentioned, but with this you do get absolutely soaked. They even have a sign in the queue line saying, you know, you won't just get wet, you will get soaked on this. So that's Valhalla, reopening in 2021, but a solid 3rd place here in my water rides countdown. Well, you know what they say, everybody's got a laughing place. And that's why Splash Mountain at Disneyland, which is located in California in the United States of America, comes in 2nd place. Now you might be thinking, hang on a minute, why this version of the ride? Because this is actually one of 3 different versions. You got one at the Magic Kingdom in Florida and also one at Tokyo Disneyland as well. This is the original Splash Mountain, and I mentioned earlier on about Timber Mountain Log Ride at Knott's Berry Farm. You know, that was the inspiration for Splash Mountain. With this version of the ride, you are actually in a log flume boat. So on the other versions, you're in a bigger boat, there's 2 people per row. With this, you're actually on your own in a single row on this boat. So it means that you've got you and your friends sort of sat behind each other. So it's traditional log ride. This opened in 1989. It's located in the Critter Country themed area of the park, and it's actually based on the 1946 Disney film called Song of the South. So how this all came about is that Disney actually removed an attraction and they had lots of spare animatronics. So Tony Baxter, who was the lead creative on this ride from Walt Disney Imagineering, put these animatronics into this ride and called it Splash Mountain. So, you know, and that's how it all started. You've got some amazing music on this, and it's the soundtrack what makes it for me. Some brilliant songs, lots of different scenes on there. But the reason why this is my favourite of all the versions is just I feel like, A, the fact you're actually sitting in this log boat instead of 2 side by side makes it more authentic. And I think you actually get a little bit wetter because of that as well. Along with that, I think the quality of the scenes and just the layout of it are better, and I prefer the area that it's in as well there, in that version of Critter Country. It's also in Critter Country in Tokyo, but it's not at Magic Kingdom in Florida, because there it's located as part of Frontierland, because they don't have a Critter Country. But yeah, this original version of the ride is brilliant. Lots of different drops and some fantastic sections on there, but it's the indoor drops and it's the laughing place what makes it for me. You go through all these brilliant scenes and then you go down these drops into the laughing place where you've got all these different fountains squirting over the top of you and at the side, all like coloured lighting flashing, and it's mixed with so many animatronics in this ride. The soundtrack, the animatronics, the lighting, everything comes together in this masterpiece of a ride, and I absolutely love it. So that's why it's in second place. That's Splash Mountain, the Disneyland version in California. It's time to find out what is my favourite ever water ride. So I've gone through 9 different water rides so far, and each of them are absolutely fantastic. It's always hard to film a top 10 video, especially when you've visited so many different theme parks all around the world and done so many different rides. It really takes a long time to decide exactly which rides belong in that top 10, never mind the actual order in which they should go. But there's a water ride out there that deserves this top spot, mainly because of the overall package that's created. This is Chiapas at Fantasyland in Germany, and this is a water ride that I absolutely love. It opened in 2014 and it's a flume ride that's all themed around Mexico, and I must say what they've done with this, from the area that it's in, to the queue line, to the station, to the full experience of the ride, it is, in my opinion, the best water ride out there in the world at the moment. It's also got the steepest drop out of any flume ride in the world at 53 degrees, and that's spectacular because you've not just got the drop, you've got the waterfalls at the side that makes it feel like, you know, you're in Chiapas in Mexico, and you've got all these waterfalls around. There's buildings with archways all over and like little temples. Along with that, there's so much rock work around. On the ride, you've got like a disco section with all these lights and fountains, and you actually go backwards through that, meaning of course you have got a pretty steep backwards drop on this. Along with that, it's the technology. So the ride was built by Intamin. I've mentioned them earlier in the video, and a lot of the rides in this video were built by Intamin. Not all of them, but a lot were. Shows that Intamin are probably the king of water rides, doesn't it, really? But what Intamin have done with this is some of the transitions on the ride. So firstly, the boats are all evenly spread around on this ride. That makes it a much more enjoyable experience. There's no stacking, and when you get to the end of the ride, usually there's no stacking up of all the boats. You're just straight in there. That's because it's so modern that the ride spreads the boats all the way round. It uses chain lift hills instead of like a conveyor. Again, that helps with that, and you actually speed up the lift hills really quick. We all know lift hills on water rides, like the conveyors, are a bit boring. With this, you know, it's all very well themed, and you go up them really quick as well. There's some great transitions. When you've come down the backwards drop, you actually go sideways across and then forwards again up the next lift hill. How amazing is that? The technology, the fact it comes backwards, moves across and then upwards. You know, it's not just a turntable, but it's also got one of those as well for another part of the ride. It's a beautiful experience, and it's got an awesome soundtrack by Imascore that makes it as well. You know, I couldn't stress it enough, like soundtracks really make rides for me, and a lot of these are in this order because of the soundtrack as well. Like the theming, the soundtrack, the ride experience is absolutely stunning, and Chiapas definitely deserves to be right there at the top for me. Like I say, it's the steepest flume ride in the world. It's got everything you could want from a water ride, and you don't actually get too wet. So like, don't get me wrong, you do get wet, but you don't get absolutely dripping wet through, meaning that it's very, very re-rideable. So you can just sit on there, even when it's open during the winter season, and just enjoy it at winter as well, and you don't get absolutely dripping wet through. But there you go. They are my top 10 best water rides that are currently out there in the world 2020, and I hope you've enjoyed watching it. It's been great to bring you the first in a long line of top 10 videos that are going to be coming, and not just top 10s, it's countdowns that we're going to be doing. So some are going to be top 10, some maybe top 25s, you know, and so much more. And likewise, it's not just going to be talking through rides and parks, I'm also going to be giving you tips for going to the parks as well. So it's a big new series on the channel, something a bit different for us, and I hope you enjoy it. So thank you very much for watching Theme Park Worldwide, and that means it's time to cue those credits. See you in the next video.